9/11. It's also the same date that we commemorate thousands, if I'm not mistaken, 3,000 something or about 4,000 people of various nationalities that died in the Twin Towers attack in New York City. Now, we hope that the families have since recovered. I know that the United States has extracted vengeance on their perceived enemies, but it will remain as a sad day for many families who lost, even Filipinos who lost family members in the 9/11 attack. In any case, here in the Philippines, we are focusing on more recent attacks of COVID-19, yung damuhong virus na yan. Sabi nga ni Presidente Duterte, yung pisting yawang virus na yan. In any case, we will get updates because from the looks of it, there is an inclination among officials of the IATF to put a stop to the optional home quarantine. Meron po kasing mga naniniwala na yung home quarantine, instead of being put in an isolation facility or instead of being placed in quarantine facilities or hospitals, yung pag-home quarantine ang nagiging dahilan sa pagkalat nitong virus na ito. We will be speaking with Undersecretary Jonathan Malaya of the DILG to find out ang pinagmulan, ang punot dulo, the beginning and the end of this current concern, because there are people who are wondering how the government proposes to take the step of banning home quarantine, because it's not the government's fault, but the fact remains that they won't have enough facilities if we were to quarantine each and every suspected case or traced case. In any case, we will find out from Usec Malaya what will be the plan and what are the steps, etc. And after that, we will speak to Mayor Evelio Leonardia of Bacolod City because, as you may recall, a few weeks ago, Cebu City was the hot spot for COVID-19. After a couple of weeks, or I think 3 weeks, the Secretary Roy Simatu, who had been tapped to join the task force against COVID-19, announced that he was moving over to Bacolod City because there was an alarming increase of COVID-19 cases there. So we will find out from Mayor Evelio Leonardia at around 8:30 what the situation is in Bacolod City. And then last but not the least, let's speak with Dr. Guido David of the UP OCTA research team, because for several days, the number of cases of COVID was leveling off at 3,000. Then suddenly yesterday, it went to 3,800, if I am not mistaken there, 3,821 new cases. Now, there's some question about that because it is possible that it is a combination of several days or a couple of days, because some laboratories were delayed in their reporting. And so how are all these delays in the reporting affecting the OCTA team, the monitoring of COVID cases? Of course, we will try to give you more insights to other news items and points of interest, pati na yun dyan sa Pemberton case. What was really the story to the pardon of Lance Corporal Joseph Pemberton? Okay, so let's before we go into the program, let's read up on the news para sa inyong mga walang dyaryo dyan, lalo na dyan sa mga kaibigan ko na nasa mga iba-ibang isla ng Pilipinas. Foreign Affairs Secretary Teddy Boy Locsin makes it clear that there was no exchange in the absolute pardon granted to convicted killer U.S. Marine Lance Corporal Joseph Scott Pemberton. But for presidential spokesperson Harry Roque, he believes part of Duterte's decision was to have access to the COVID-19 vaccines currently being developed by the United States. US President Donald Trump earlier announced that a vaccine would be available by November. Yan po yung the right hand does not know what the left hand is saying. And here now would be a question of who do you believe? Do you believe Teddy Boy Locsin, who, basically is a straight shooter, or do you believe the presidential spokesperson? And, at the end of the day, it's water under the bridge. The pardon has been given. The president gave the pardon because he could, and he did. And okay, if you want to speculate, it is an election year in the United States. I don't know what state Pemberton comes from, but I'm sure Donald Trump is going to milk that for some votes at the very least. And I am certain that that's going to register, maybe minor somewhere, but it will be used. In any case, it's what's interesting to note, ladies and gentlemen, is that in the front page of the Philippine Star, it says no exchange for Pemberton. But in the inside pages of the Philippine Star, there is a story where the DOJ confirms that 95 Filipinos were repatriated to the Philippines. Okay, they were part of a prisoner exchange program for the in exchange for two Emiratis, or I think citizens of the Emirates, and 95 Filipinos got to come home to the Philippines. The question is, ano ba sila? Palit laya or palit pagdating dito kulong ka pa rin kasi may ginawa kang kawalangyaan doon sa ibang bansa. In any case, that gives you an idea of the workings of this the diplomatic international system of justice. And for all that's said and done, it's done. Okay, speaking of pardons and paroles, ayun, ito na, nako, ito na pa, nandito pala eh. Iba pa to, iba pa ito. 93 inmates at the New Bilibid prison have walked free. 86 of the inmates were granted parole, 6 were acquitted, and 1 had an expired sentence. Ano yung expired sentence? Nag-expire siya o palso? Paano? Palso na yung sentensya niya. Bureau of Corrections says that the release is part of a program that was done for the first time, as they show that the penitentiary is a partner of inmates in pursuing a new life. That's a very interesting setup, ladies and gentlemen, where inmates are actually set free, because matagal na pong sinasabi yan sa justice system sa Pilipinas, pati yung sentencing, etc. Sa Pilipinas, ay while the law says a life sentence is 40 years. Okay, technically that's what the law professors have told me. Sito, ang life sentence sa Pilipinas, 40 years, maximum na yon. Okay? Pwede na lang kung gigil na gigil yung judge sa'yo, o kaya talagang masyado kang pinasikat ng media, bibigyan ka ng triple life sentence, etc. O katulad doon sa Maguindanao massacre, 53 yung na massacre na yun, malamang at malamang multiple life sentence na lalabas. But it has been said time and again that the justice system in the Philippines is based on vengeance and not reformation. So it comes as a shock to us that someone like Pemberton gets pardoned or other people get pardoned, kasi nga sa atin, it's still an eye for an eye. Now, I just want to reassure you, if the law says this is how it goes, it doesn't necessarily mean that it ends there. in terms of the justice of the good Lord. Maaring makalaya ka nga, pero pagbabayaran mo. If you think Pemberton is going to have it easy, well, maybe, maybe not. Because at the end of the day, he will still be a marked man when he walks in America because siyempre, may record ka pa rin nun. Bagamat hindi nasa record mo yon dahil it's been cleared, alam ng tao and alam ng pamilya mo yung ginawa mo. Okay. In tourism, safety marshals will be deployed in beach and island destinations to make sure minimum health protocols like physical distancing will be strictly observed. This is part of the new normal guidelines of the tourism department. Under these guidelines, the local government must designate the safety marshals in addition to lifeguards on duty. Ang tanong po, maganda po yan, kasi at least it's a signal that we are headed towards the reopening of tourism in the Philippines. Pero sasabihin po ng mga barangay captain and ng mga mayors, where's the money? Okay? We are going to make this rules, and we are going to put up these requirements for marshals. Saan ang pera? Kasi kailangan pasweldohin namin yan. Sasabihin naman sa inyo ng mga tourism operator, teka, buti ngang buhay pa kami dito, makaka-start kami. Pero kung sasabihin yung cargo pa rin namin yan, wala na, todas na. In any case, the big issue I have with all of this is, we are not giving the Filipino traveler, okay, the ability to show his responsibility, his awareness. Marami nga po nagsasabi, buksan this, buksan that, let's get the economy back. And then when they did, people said, teka, tinakot nyo kami ng gusto Napraning na kami ng gusto. So, no leaving the house na kami. And, same with me and many of my friends. They don't want to go out because they said, everybody keeps saying, one whiff and you're dead. Here, we will open tourism. We put all of the safety checks, but we don't equip or empower the customer, the traveler, yung turistang kanin, the ability to take care of themselves and show the responsibility. Ako po ay supporter ng DOT. Alam naman yan ni Sec Berna. Pero I'm addressing this to the IATF and to government. Let's begin recognizing the fact that Filipinos are responsible. Filipinos are intelligent. And Filipinos will keep to themselves when you send them out. Nagkakapikunan na nga sa labas, hoy, dumistansya ka, baka mahawa mo ko, etc. Okay? Anyway, last but not the least, group of citizens urgent response to end COVID-19 or cure COVID-19 reiterated their appeal to the Supreme Court to compel the national government to conduct proactive mass testing. The group made their voice heard again 2 months after originally filing their petition and receiving no word on it. Among the respondents in the petition are Health Secretary Francisco Duque III, Interior Secretary Eduardo Año, and National Task Force Implementer Carlito Galvez. Maganda po yung ginagawa na yan ng grupo na yan, pero let's simplify. Okay? Let's just call on President Duterte and the IATF and the DTI to impose a price ceiling, a price fixed price for testing. Alam niyo po, kahapon na-discover ko, yung palang pagpapatest ng swab test, RT-PCR, covered ng PhilHealth. Pero marami, katulad ng aking pamilya, na sa pagmamadaling matest at makahabol sa pag-eskwela ng anak ko, ay hindi naman kami nasabihan na pag nagpa-test po kayo, because it's a requirement, pwede pong i-cover ng PhilHealth. Ito kasi ang daming mga conditions. O kung para sa ganito, pwede. Kung para sa ganon, hindi pwede. They're all health-related. All I want to say is, first of all, if the PhilHealth covers testing, wala nang kesyo-kesyo. Testing yan eh. Requirement yan either by employer, by education, by travel, whatever. It is a state requirement. Hindi po yan ginusto namin. Ginusto po yan ng IATF. So, in any case, dapat siguro covered. At kung covered, dapat sinasabihan yung citizen. And ultimately, going back to the group Citizens Urgent Response to End COVID-19 or CURE, pwede po ba mag-petition na lang kayo for one price fits all? Okay, yan na lang po kasi presyo lang, hindi pa magkaigi. Tapos yan pang sasabing mass testing. Nako po. Tapos biglang isasagot sa'yo ng spokesman, it's a matter of definition and interpretation. Okay, let's go to the Undersecretary of the DILG, Department of Interior and Local Government. He currently serves as the department spokesperson and one of the few and the rare people who are nice enough to come to agenda to explain government. Let's bring Usec DILG. Pinupuri kita, sir. Kasi at least ikaw, nice ka sa amin. Okay, hindi ka parang labuyo na mailap sa bundok.
Always a pleasure, sir.
Okay, Usec, let's begin.
It's always a pleasure to be here.
Okay, thank you very much, Usec. Hayaan mo, naghang si Usec. Ayun, okay. Pakabitan ng PLDT fiber optic yan si Usec Jonathan. Okay, John, Usec John, paki-explain lang po itong tungkol sa usap-usapan regarding ititigil na or the banning of home quarantine. Nasaan na ba yung usapan na yan? What is the situation?
Yes. Una, Sir Cito, it's always a pleasure to be in your show. Yan. I want to put that on the record. Okay? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Or naglalag na naman ako?
Go ahead. Just carry on para hindi na kita na-interrupt.
Okay, much better. Unang-una po, this really was a proposal of Secretary Anyo kasi nga nakita niya na even if napaka-stricto na sa bahay ng ating mga kababayan, but there's still the possibility, malaki pa rin yung possibility na magkahawaan if the COVID positive patient is in the house. At nakita niya ito personally sa kanyang sariling experience because 2 beses siya nagka-COVID. Kahit anong stricto or pagsunod sa minimum health standards, nahawakan pa rin niya yung mga kasama niya sa bahay, even his wife, nahawaan niya. So, he validated this with the other houses, no? Ang dami pa kasing naka-quarantine up to now. No? Even if the person na nag-quarantine says na may sarili akong CR, may sarili akong kwarto, kung napakarami naman nila sa bahay, some are 6, 7, 8, 9, and then hindi naman maluwag yung bahay and the house has poor ventilation, and kung minsan yung CR ginagamit ng iba kasi these are the issues. Kaya he's proposing that we should finally ban yung home quarantine but with exemptions. So mangyayari, pupuntahan yung mga iba't ibang mga bahay, aalamin natin if the conditions are present to allow for home quarantine.
Okay. Ang tanong, paano natin madedetermine sino yung dapat i-quarantine? It's clear you said there will be a home inspection. But some people are asking, do I have to test positive before I am quarantined, or umubo lang ba, quarantine na? Okay, I think we are having problems with Usec John. Okay, there we go. I think. Well, let's see if he can come in. But if you have a better connection, just come in at any time, Usec. Okay, yan. Paano ma-determine who
Yeah, I
will
think I'm
be?
back.
Yeah, you are. Okay, umubo lang ba? Quarantine ka na, or kailangan positive ka to be placed under quarantine?
Ang pinag-uusapan natin dito yung mga COVID positives lamang. No, we're not talking
Okay.
about suspects, we're talking about the COVID positives. And this is the entire logic behind Oplan Kalinga.
Mhm.
Na we have seen in Cebu, we have seen in Quezon City, we have seen in a lot of places na ang dami pa rin naka-home quarantine. And home
Mhm.
quarantine does not work kung hindi tayo istrikto. So the plan really is to make it the rule rather than the exception, and to ensure that the COVID positives are closely monitored every day para hindi naman nila mahawaan yung kanilang pamilya.
Okay, Yusek, is it possible, and I appreciate what Secretary Anyo is suggesting, kasi experience niya, mabuti nga hindi siya ginulpi ng misis niya dahil nahawa si misis sa kanya, no? Pero is it possible that we have the right solution to the wrong problem? Because some people are saying that the contamination in a household is usually discovered too late already. Kumbaga nagkahawahan na yan bago pa nagkabistuhan na meron palang tawag nito. Ewan ko kung nandiyan pa si Usec Malaya, pero yun po yung sinasabi nila, no? Kasi here's the problem. Secretary Anyo is speaking correctly in context to his experience. Kasi 2 beses na he has twice gotten COVID-19, okay? And twice his family got infected, and he also validated with other families, other locations. So okay yun, as far as that is concerned. But here's the thing, kasi paano natin malalaman if, like, let's say me, I had COVID-19, did I bring it home to my family when I chose to home quarantine, or did my family already have it before I even knew I had? Kasi marami pong kaso ganyan eh. Maraming nangyayari na they only found out too late na meron palang COVID yung kasama nila. In fact, my own sister had her entire family and staff tested because someone came from a dinner or party, and by the next morning, they found out that one of the persons in that dinner or party had COVID-19 and tested positive. So ngayon, nagpa-test sila. Pero going back to this home quarantine issue, ladies and gentlemen, it's a chicken and egg, so to speak. You don't know if the transmission among families is determined later, or it is brought. Kasi nga, sabi ni Dr. Solante ba yun? Sabi niya, maraming pumapasok na bata, 20 to 40 years old, papasok sa opisina, sa factory, mamamasyal, etc. Pagkatapos, biglang pagbalik sa bahay, may COVID-19. So anyway, I think Usec Jonathan Malaya is back. Let's see if he has a better signal.
Yeah, I restarted my router.
Okay. Kasi magpakabit ka na ng PLDT fiber na 100 Mbps.
Naka-PLDT ako pero sige na nga. Gagawin ko
What?
na yung 100 Mbps.
100. Hindi, kasi alam mo, na-discover namin yan eh. May mga naka-fiber optic, iba-ibang brands, kahit PLDT. Pero tinipid naman. Tapos kalaban nila yung mga anak nila at misis nila. In any case, going back to the discussion, Usec John, tama naman si Secretary Anyo, pero paano naman yung concern na right solution to the wrong problem. Meaning, baka naman nagkahawahan na sila Secretary Anyo before pa. Kumbaga infected na yung maid, infected pala yung kusinera o yung anak o yung apo, tapos nalaman na lang nung nag-positive yung isang tao. Yun lang, yung parang concern na yun.
Yes, that's also possible, Cito, no? Pero ang mahirap kasi dito, the data has shown na once we did contact tracing, lumalabas doon na yung naging source talaga noong hawaan was the COVID patient, no? Kasi
Mm,
there's a way to find out through aggressive contact tracing. So
okay.
we saw this in Cebu, when we did aggressive contact tracing, wala namang close contact sa ibang mga kasamahan doon sa bahay. Ang
Oh.
close contacts lang talaga yung COVID positive. So those were one of the things we did in Cebu that became very effective. We really moved out of the houses yung mga COVID positives na nakatira sa mga bahay na dikit-dikit, na masisikip, na walang sarili mga pasilidad, and brought them to the isolation facility. So again, Sito, ang sinasabi lang naman natin dito, there will always be exemptions, of course. No?
Mm.
Always make sentence, of course, kasi not all conditions are the same all over the country. Pero ang bago lang messaging nitong policy ito is home quarantine is now an exemption rather than the rule. The rule is if you're COVID
Okay.
positive, dadalhin ka kailangan sa isolation facility because that should be our policy moving forward.
Okay, so it is one of the key options. Tama ka sa sinabi mo, it is now an exemption rather than the rule. Tama yun, maganda yung pagkasabi mo nun, Usec John. Now, paano bang ginawa nyo sa Cebu? I'm sure a lot of people are curious, no? Or even here in Metro Manila. Kasi nga, maraming pamilya, 7-8 sa
Mhm.
sa 2 by 3 square meters, ano? And paano ginagawa ninyo? Testingin nyo silang lahat at tapos lahat ng mga positive pull out, yung negative stay home and monitor?
Yung ginawa kasi natin sa Cebu was a combination of many things, no? I think when we have asked the Cebu people kung ano yung pinakamagandang ginawa nila, they will always say aggressive contact tracing.
Hmm.
Because from the very beginning, there were only around 30 contact tracers in Cebu. Now there are more than 100 contact tracers who are aggressively tracking down all of the COVID positives. Now, ang contact tracing ang nagsisimula ng testing. So may mga protocols tayo dyan. If you are a close contact of a COVID positive and then matagal kayo nagkasama and then yung lugar kung saan kayo nag-usap ay kulob, may mga conditions yan at mataas yung viral load mo, then immediately kailangang i-test ka. So aggressive contact tracing should come with available testing, no? Na mabilis na PCR tests and also available isolation facilities. Kasi na-test mo nga siya, positive nga siya, wala ka namang pagdadalhan, 'di ba?
Aha. Oo.
Hindi pwede sa bahay. So gusto ko lang i-allay yung mga um, yung nararamdaman ng ating mga kababayan na natatakot na baka daw dalhin lang sila sa mga eskwelahan, dalhin lang sila sa mga isolation facilities na hindi naman equipped. Yung mga eskwelahan po, hindi yun para sa mga isolation facilities for the COVID patients, no? We have facilities equipped for COVID patients. Iba yung ating facilities for COVID patients. Yung ginagawa nila Secretary Vince Dizon, nila Secretary
Galvez.
Galvez and Secretary Mark Villar na malalaking quarantine facilities na may mga maayos na mga beds, may internet, no, may doktor, may nurse. These are the places for the COVID positives. Yung mga eskwelahan, yung mga yun, para yun dun sa mga nagka-quarantine for 14 days, yung mga galing sa Maynila, umuwi sa probinsya, no,
Aha.
na wala
Aha.
namang simptomas pero naniniguro lang yung LGU, no, na baka makahawa sila doon sa komunidad, yun yung mga eskwelahan, no? And ang dami na po natin sa mga LGUs, mga hotels ang ginagamit for COVID patients. So,
Correct. Oo.
ano po yung nagawa since the start of the pandemic?
Okay, now ang matanong ko lang kasi nabanggit mo na rin naman Usec yung tungkol sa mga natatakot o maraming agam-agam o either imagining things. This is real story, okay? And medyo it's a regrettable story. I only learned about it too late. Yung isang empleyado ng kaibigan ko nag-test positive.
Okay.
Tapos sinabihan na siya kaagad nung opisina nila, isolate ka na, punta ka na sa barangay para madala ka sa isolation facility at ma-treat ka. Aba, ay sabi nung tao, di bali na lang po, ako'y uuwi muna, magpapagaling na lang ako sa bahay, tapos kami aalis na at babalik na lang kami sa Visayas. And walang magawa yung kaibigan ko kasi lahat sinabi niya, look, you don't have to worry, babayaran namin ng sweldo mo, etc. Ganyan. Eh, hindi ho, kasi baka pag nandoon na ho ako sa isolation facility, wala na ho akong trabaho, wala pang mag-aasikaso sa pamilya ko. I think the bottom line, the question is, pag ang tao ba nilagay natin sa isolation facilities, meron bang katapat na suporta? Are we providing some sort of, I don't want to say compensation, support for those who lose their jobs or pulled out from their jobs? Uh, just like SAP. Kasi SAP, we just give it because they're poor. But some people who are actually productive and working but have to now be isolated, wala, eh sila pa yung breadwinner.
Yeah, I think kailangan dito Sito no yung pumasok naman yung tulong ng ating mga private sector because to solve the problem of COVID, it has to be a whole of society approach. It has to be bayanihan.
Hmm.
So in this case tama yung sinabi mo na maganda nag-offer yung employer na habang nagpapagaling ka, no, you will continue to be employed. That's the least that we can do. Kasi government, on the part of government naman, is we have to provide the treatment for him. No,
Oh,
gastos din po 'yan, yung mga maintenance of the isolation facilities,
yeah.
pinapakain natin sila, we provide them wifi, no,
Oh.
we provide them with nurses and doctors, and 'pag nagkasakit sila, dinala sila sa mga ospital, again, that's also covered by government, no. So, I think that's our that should be our approach na magtulungan. The employers should understand the situation being faced by these employees and keep them on the payroll habang nagpapagaling sila.
Yung po bang employer, are employers, how do you call it, protected by the government if they report an employee to be COVID positive and gustong tumakas? Kasi in the last 3 months, 3 kaso na nadinig ko
Yeah,
na rapid test, nag-positive,
yeah.
pinapa-isolate ng may-ari ng kumpanya. Aba, sumakay ng jeepney, lumayas. Eh sabi ko, anak ng ewan, ayan na yung mga magkakalat ng lagim sa
Yeah,
Pilipinas.
yeah. That's right, Sir Sito. Talagang nakakalungkot yung mga ganyang instances because I've heard the same stories many times already, no? Nagpa-swab tapos hindi nag-a-isolate, naging pabaya, no? At mas malala, hindi lang pabaya, pasaway pa.
Mm.
So, ang usapan namin with the private sector here, in particular yung mga industries, factories, especially because nung pumunta kami sa Laguna, one company there which employed thousands of employees, may mga positive pala tapos nagsiuwian sa kanilang mga lugar after a swab test. That when kailangan ang naging approach doon was while waiting for the result of the swab test, in-isolate muna yung mga tao.
Mm.
Kasi kung hindi mo sila i-isolate, papauwiin mo na sila. Pag nag-positive sila, nasa bahay na sila. Okay?
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
ang naging usapan with the private sector, with the industries, factories, and the different companies in Laguna was for them to have their own quarantine facilities. That's number one. Okay, so nag-agree naman sila. So either inside their factories, within the compound of their companies, or kukuha sila ng resort, no? Sa Laguna, madami resort na hindi nagagamit ngayon to be
Aha.
utilized as a temporary quarantine facility. And kinausap na rin namin yung mga barangay na hindi kayo pwedeng humindi. Kasi ito nakakatawa eh. Because may mga in-isolate tayo na nag-aantay ng resort sa isang resort, yung
Oo.
barangay officials naman, sila naman ngayon ang ayaw. No? Kasi nagdadala daw ng COVID sa lugar na we cannot solve this problem kung nagkakanya-kanya tayo. It has to be a whole of society approach. Now,
Hmm.
government also came in. Meron tayo na-identify na isang building na malaki along the South Luzon Expressway na nasa Calamba, 6 or 7 stories high, has been converted already to a quarantine facility.
Mhm.
So, kung hindi pa enough yung quarantine facility na pinagawa ng mga kumpanya, dito pwedeng padala sa quarantine facility which is operated by the Department of Health and the DPWH. Ito yung mga mega quarantine facilities natin, which we have already established in Laguna as an example of what we're doing.
Okay, so last question ko na lang, and I'm sincere about this, hindi po ako nagbibiro, I'm sincere and I'm concerned about it. Si Secretary Anyo, 2-0 na. Medyo, he's representative of many of our government officials and employees na are risking their lives and have been exposed time and again to COVID-19. Hindi ba oras na, isn't it about time that all our government employees and officials be ewan ko, parang kailangan ba padala sa re-education camp yung mga yan? Kasi miyat-miya na lang tinatamaan sila, nakakatakot at nakakaalala rin. Paano ba siya nagkaroon ng COVID-19 in the first place? Kakaikot-ikot niya.
Yeah. Una-una kasi, Sir Cito, we have to understand that the DILG is a frontline agency and we have no choice. Hindi naman kami pwede gaya ng ibang mga ahensya na we can just close our shop, no? For example, si Secretary Anyo is also the head of the Philippine National Police, no? It's also the boss of the Philippine National Police, and ang ating kapulisan, we cannot just close shop because ang ating kapulisan is the maintenance of peace and order, no?
Correct.
So, Secretary, in his capacity as the head of the DILG, has to meet with local government officials who are at the front line also of the COVID-19 pandemic as vice chair of the National Task Force COVID-19. Pero nung tinanong ko siya, sabi ko, sir, saan mo kaya posibleng nakuha? Baka daw sa Krame. Because he maintains an office in the DILG and he maintains another office in Campo Crame, no, in his capacity as chairman of the National Police Commission. And yung ating kapulisan, they're on the road. They're everywhere. So he has to meet with them. Kahapon, nasa Congress naman kami, we have to defend our budget. Hindi naman pwede mag-absent ng secretary doon because if the secretary is absent, the budget will not be approved.
So again, we're not...
He's in a devil within the deep blue sea, you know? He's in a catch-22 situation.
Ayan, alam mo, kailangan doon, nasa likod ka ni Usec, ni Secretary, may dala kang mahabang patpat na manipis. Tusukin mo pag lumalapit siya sa tao. Kasi, I'm serious, no? Kasi parang, we're just taking this for granted. Pwede tayong mamatayan ng cabinet member na kasi sila yung talagang nasa frontline. And I think it brings home the fact that all of our officials need to undergo retraining about social distancing and how they conduct themselves. Pati mga empleyado, kasi yung sa LTO lang, yung mga kaibigan ko doon, nalagasan na ng 2. Tapos may mga na-infection. Sa PNP, 3,000 na kayo. Ilan ang namatay sa inyo? 26 ba o 30? In any case, just my thoughts and I think I speak for the public, our concerns. Bagamat there are days we may be on opposing or opposite views, we appreciate our officials such as you and the Secretary. And sana po mag-ingat and perhaps push for communications kasi I think, Usec John, the worst thing that could happen is if a high-ranking official dies because of COVID-19, it will send our morale plummeting. And yan po ang concern ko. In any case, pinapaabot ko lang sa inyo yan, our appreciation as well as our concern. And thank you for the explanations regarding itong home quarantine, now the exemption rather than the rule. Thank you, Usec John.
Yes, salamat po. And I will relate to Secretary Anyo your concern. I think magsuslow down na rin siya, no? Because he spent 11 days in the hospital. So I think na talagang nayanig din siya nitong COVID-19 and he's taking the necessary precautions. Please be assured that he understands how important his role is in the National Task Force and he is protecting himself and his family so that the DILG can continue to serve the public in this time of COVID.
Okay, thank you very much. And you take care of yourself as well, Usec John. And thank you for giving us your time graciously once again.
Maraming salamat at pabuhay po kayo.
Okay, yan po si USEC Undersecretary Jonathan Malaya ng DILG at ayan po no we there are days we don't like what government says or does. There are days we love them, there are days we agree, there are days we disagree. But the fact of the matter is our civil servants, our public officials are doing a very, very important job and at the risk of their lives. Alam niyo po dati ang pulis lang at ang militar ang tsaka bumbero ang nagtatrabaho na isang paa nasa hukay. Pero ngayon po, Ginoo, kahit sino sa atin, isang paa nasa hukay basta lumabas ka ng bahay at nadisgrasya ka ng COVID-19. We'll go for a quick break. When we come back, let's go to the mayor of Bacolod City. Makibisita naman tayo dahil namimiss ko na rin yung mga well, I don't know if I can even talk about tourism and food in Bacolod given their headache. We'll be right back here on Agenda. Okay, you're back here on Agenda. Next up, we have with us Mayor Evelio Bing Leonardia, Mayor of the City of Bacolod. He also served as Vice Mayor at one time and also as Representative or Congressman of Bacolod's Lone District. Kausapin po natin. Let's welcome Mayor. Good morning.
Hi, hey, good morning, Cito. That's Leonardia. The last time I saw you was maybe 10, 15 years ago. You just mentioned about the food. We will look forward to that right after the post, when we get to the post-COVID days.
Okay, mukha ka pa rin artistahin, sir.
Just
But
following your footsteps.
but in any case, ako, munti ko na sabihin congressman eh. Mayor, I'm very concerned about Bacolod City and that's why we did not let go of trying to get you on board. I know you have had your hands full since August 31 with the COVID cases. What's the situation in Bacolod City and what happened? What happened that you almost competed with Cebu City? Parang ano ba yan, contest?
Well, thank you for that question. It makes me go back to the time when this all started, like March, and for quite some time, March, April, May, June, until even the middle of July, it was so so peaceful here. We hardly had cases. Then all of a sudden, by the end of July, it shut up. And, when it started, the exponential nature of COVID, it was just like, it was so unexpected. And you imagine maybe towards the middle of July, there were just about 50 cases. And yesterday, we reported 2,221 cases already. Yeah, that's
Wow.
really quite a big concern. And it's quite hard to imagine this before. But one thing about the situation, though, is that we'd like to thank President Rudy Duterte and Senator Bongo for the very quick response to our plea for help. And, Secretary Simato, Secretary Mike Albino, Secretary Galvez, Charlie Galvez, and then staying in Bacolod practically every day.
Mhm.
Yeah, every day, in fact, I have to tell this story about General Mel Feliciano and his wife, Mia, because they're so dedicated and committed to the job. And what I'm saying, therefore, is that the team that was sent on a mission to Cebu by President Duterte is also the team now handling Bacolod. And considering their success story in Cebu, where they used to handle as much as 350 cases a day, and they went down to as low as only single digits. We're quite hopeful that a lot can happen here. And yesterday we had a very long meeting with our barangay captains, and it was emphasized to them that the focus of the fight now is in their level. So we have the involvement of barangay captains, and the other night, just the other night, Secretary Galvez was here,
Mhm.
and as with him was the contact tracing czar, Mayor Benjamin Galong. So
Yeah.
he talked to about 200 of our contact tracers because according to Mayor Benji, it should be a ratio of 1 is to 800. So the number of contact tracers that we are supposed to have is 787. But we've listed more than that already, except that, of course, we admit that there is still a need to train a lot of them. Nevertheless, we appreciate Mayor Benja's time and attention because even after the meeting of the contact tracers, he took time with us, with the city officials, and spent until past midnight the other day just to continually discuss this and for him to uh, to explain the mechanics of his technique and
Yeah.
feel that well, he told us that at least we had improved a lot as from it started.
So, Mayor Bing, what's the game plan now? Because right now, what type of quarantine is Bacolod under? Is it MECQ? Kasi ang balita dito, you wanted really tight classification just to control the problem.
Yes, technically we are now under MECQ, and
Mm-hmm.
it came just last Tuesday, 8. It came, and to a certain extent, it came like as a surprise because normally, the period of the quarantine is for 50 days, but this one was declared in the middle of the middle of this 15-day period.
Yeah.
So it caused us some inconvenience, but we have adjusted. One thing though that I can say about Bacolod is this re- this ECQ or MECQ was actually sought for by the doctors for some time,
Uh-huh.
and we had a series of long meetings with the doctors, the business sector leaders, the church leaders, and the mall owners to discuss the situation. And even before the MECQ was imposed upon us, we among ourselves had agreed that we should have what we may call a self-imposed restrictions. So much so that we institutionalized a home quarantine pass system, HQP, which is now based on an ordinance. Then we also are implementing now the border control mechanism, where
Mhm.
which is also based on the ordinance. In other words, we are trying to see to it that restrictions are there, even if our no matter what our quarantine status may be. So, and in addition to that, we have the liquor ban, although we made up some adjustments to that recently. And our curfew is from 10 to 4. For a while, we had it even at 8 to 4. But, it was the business sector that requested some adjustments. Then we close our markets every Sunday for disinfection. And we feel that the the campaign for awareness is it continues because and we hope that in the implementation of all these restrictions,
But what happened?
yes, it,
What happened as far as movement is concerned? Because you said border control, ay ang daming pumapasok sa Bacolod through the airport, via the airport, via the ports from Iloilo, etc. Are you saying that you are not letting people inside Bacolod for now, or normal pa rin
so
ang access?
yeah, to a certain extent, first when we talk of our borders, we mean our border in the south, north, and east, meaning Bago, Talisay, and Murcia.
Yeah.
So we have the checkpoint there. We, aside from, of course, the SOP of the thermal check,
Mhm.
uh, we we check on those coming in if they are what is the reason why they're going to Bacolod, meaning it has to be essential.
Mhm.
Now, if you talk about the airport, the situation is that our airport technically does not it's not in within Bacolod City, and therefore it is in the jurisdiction of the province.
Yeah.
So um, we coordinate with the province on this. Although
Mhm.
the agreement with Governor Bob Lacson as of the moment is for them not to allow those coming in for Bacolod bound because IATF incidentally a few days back had approved a resolution that will have a moratorium that will impose a moratorium on the arrivals of those people from Bacolod within this period. And actually, our request was for the whole month of September, but the IAT resolution was open ended. Now, on the other hand, they have a situation where the 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 ports are in Bacolod
Yeah.
and vice versa. It is now again a question of coordinating with the province because even if we are technically trying to stop those who are bound for Bacolod, we should not stop those bound for Negros Occidental. So it's about coordination between the city and the province.
Mhm. Okay, now are you having problems or challenges, or do you suspect that the outbreak in Bacolod was heightened or increased because of the OFW and locally stranded individuals returning to Bacolod from Metro Manila?
Well, that is a common impression. That is the perception of people because before we started to accept them back, as I was saying, our cases were very, very minimal.
Mhm.
On the other hand, of course, we consider that they are from Bacolod. They are residents of Bacolod. They are our kababayans. And we should not stop them. They are entitled to it. In fact, they claim that it is their constitutional right, and we believe them.
Yes.
Nevertheless, we can maybe say that that is when it started.
Uh-huh.
For when it hit the areas where the population is dense, the density of population is thick, and then some workplaces, and of course by now it is now more on local transmission. That is how it happened. But maybe we can say that that is how it started.
Okay, how
We still
how
welcome
is
them.
yeah, how is the situation in Bacolod, Mayor? Because I mean, we've always loved Bacolod. We enjoy going to Bacolod, and like nagbibiro nga ako kanina, mamimiss ko yung pagkain, yung mga chocolate cakes diyan, etc. Yung mga tao, the really nice people. But How has COVID-19 changed Bacolod? Is it now sad place to be, or are people really fighting back and still going out? Or puro essentials lang muna?
Um, we went through ECQ, we went through MGCQ, and now we're in ACQ. So the mood depended on also on the kind of quarantine status that we had. Nevertheless, as of the moment, we would say that Bacolod was the night life of Western Visayas. But
Mhm.
now with curfew and then restrictions in the operations of the restaurants and hotels, of course, we cannot say that it is business as usual.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, of course, we are looking forward that when this is all over, Bacolod will still be Bacolod. The nature of the Bacolod will still somehow surface in the end. Nevertheless, of course, I must admit, we're slowing down. We cannot do business as usual in a time like
Mhm.
this. Nevertheless, of course, the matter of the business establishment has been the subject of our long discussions. And, in the end, what prevailed was, of course, if you have to choose between your life and money, then of course we know that what is more important is life. So somehow we in those series of meetings, doctors became emotional, and even some representing the different sectors were passionate about this. But of course, it is all a balancing act. You know, somehow, somewhere, we'll have to find a middle ground, and the situation right now calls for a we're more inclined to situate that the health protocols are imposed, and we will have to a certain extent, we will have to sacrifice business in the meantime.
Okay, how well equipped is Bacolod in terms of responding to the outbreak or to COVID-19? Because I know that Bacolod, has so many hotels, resorts, etc. Have they now been transformed or temporarily been being used as isolation facilities or holding centers?
We had established quarantine facilities and isolation facilities in our public schools.
Mm-hmm.
We all of them by now is more than 1,000 beds, and we are adding 10 more schools. Okay, the hotels were used by the OFWs, and it was the OWA that financed the accommodation of the OFWs.
Mm-hmm.
However, you had, as you had mentioned earlier in the show, there is going to be that new policy where home quarantine is going to be avoided, and it was Secretary Charlie Galvez himself who announced that when he was here 2 days ago, and we will follow that. Now, because of a situation like that, you know naman, kilala mo naman ang iba sa Bacolod. Some of them most likely will not be inclined to go to the schools for that
Mm-hmm.
quality of quarantine facilities.
Yeah.
So we are now arranging with some hotels to be accredited as the quarantine facilities for those who are to be quarantined and may not be that comfortable in schools. So they will have to be housed in hotels, but of course they will have to pay for that.
Okay, now I guess my last question is what's your assessment of the public response to this crisis? Kasi I love the people of Bacolod, but they have a mind of their own. They have a way of doing things that are very different from others, and I can already see you shaking your head. How are you able to get everybody on the
Yes.
same page?
Well, if you read the social media, then you can just imagine. But of course, I don't indulge in that much. But
Mhm.
we live with that in the meantime. Nevertheless, we feel that overall we slow down, but we keep that spirit. If you trace our history, including the way how we started the Mascara Festival, it's about being resilient. It's about fighting back. It's the fighting spirit of the Bacolod nun that somehow made us survive all these years. And so we feel that this one is just going to be temporary. But of course, we would like to make special mention of this, of the presence of General Mel Feliciano and his wife, because every day he crisscrosses Bacolod and Iloilo. That is how dedicated and committed he is. And even the barangay captains yesterday, he was able to inspire them. And in spite of what is happening now, there's that sense of optimism that these are all temporary, but we'll have to give this our best fight. And overall, we still feel that we have the unity of the people, the majority areas. And one thing that we have here that probably sometimes is missing in other LGUs is that we have a very relatively our politics is quite stable, because in the last elections we out of the 15 slots for grabs, our group got 14. So plus the support of the barangay captains, politics is not that much as a problem here as of the moment. So
I think
we
I
feel
think
that
it's
eventually we will survive.
yeah, I think it's the politicians who are having problems right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Anyway,
yeah. Some barangay captains are just wishing they were not barangay captains today.
and some
My
mayors.
God, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I must admit, this has never happened before. Everybody this is unprecedented,
Yeah.
and nothing has kept me as busy. And if not for Don Cito Beltran, I should still be resting by now.
Okay, you know what? I think I can read your mind. You're probably saying, I would not wish this on my worst enemy. in, in
Yeah, but
any case,
the thing is, I can assure you, Cito, we're fighting. We will not let our people down, and we would like to thank the support of President Duterte and Senator Bongo. And can you imagine all the big guns have been to Bacolod, and yes, the mere fact that we were a success in Cebu gives us also hope. We see that we're inching towards the light at the end of the tunnel.
okay, thank you very much, Mayor. And I am very confident that the people of Bacolod will overcome. You people have survived many bigger challenges in the past. This one is just going to be another one of those. Thank you very much,
And
Mayor.
thank you for your support. And of course, we look forward to seeing you back here someday.
Okay,
More
thank you very
involved.
much.
Madamong nga salamat.
Okay, thank you very much, Mayor Evelio Bing Leonardia of the city of Bacolod. Yan po, no? At least those friends of ours who are from Bacolod or who love Bacolod or who miss being in Bacolod, miss the inasal, miss all the chocolate cakes and all the sweets. Well, let's just pray for Bacolod that like Cebu, like NCR, things will improve, things will be better. I mean, it's still, a big war for all of us globally, but at least we see light at the end of the tunnel, sabi nga ni Mayor Bing. And at this stage, we will go for a break. But when we return, let's see if the numbers are telling us if the light is at the end of the tunnel or magdadala na ba tayo ng kanya-kanyang flashlight here on Agenda. Okay, welcome back to the program. And like I mentioned earlier, we will now try to find out whether the numbers, yung statistical data ba, ay nagsasabing may pag-asa. Are things improving? Are things constant, or are things going up and down? So, of course, the many of you, I think many Filipinos by now, know of only two individuals who are really associated with this responsibility or this effort, or baka mga tatlo naman. Pero ang mga kilalang kilala dyan is one of our guests, Professor Guido David of the UP OCTA Research Team, and of course his associate Ranjit Rai. But for this morning, we will have Guido David help us figure out what's going on, because according to some news reports, nagfla-flatten na raw, may nagsasabi naman daw na pababa na, pero may nagsasabing hindi kasi delay yung mga ibang data. Let's find out from Professor Guido David of UP. Prof. Guido, good morning.
Yes, good morning, Cito. Good to see you again.
Nakakatulog ka pa ba ng lagay na yan? Parang lagi ka nang pagod ngayon na Prof. Guido.
Tama ka pala yung eye bag.
Okay, I intentionally did not bother you for several weeks kasi sabi ko naman marami kayong ginagawa. Kanya lang, hindi na namin talaga maiwasan tawagan ka to find out where are we now. Last time we talked, you mentioned that the R0 was improving, your rate of reproduction is improving. But now some people are saying not just the rate of reproduction, they're even talking about, the flattening of the curve. Could you just give us an update, Professor?
Yes, by the way, Cito, we're always glad to be your guest dito sa show nyo. Kahit busy kami, we'll find time. So wala namang problem yun. Hindi nyo naman kami na-disturb.
Okay.
Kami ni Professor Ranjit. Well, pagising si Professor Ranjit. Yes, medyo mas late siya na nakakatulog. Yung we actually noticed yung decreasing trend nga sa reproduction number R0 since nung latter part of August. We saw it was decreasing. Kasi at the start of August, it was 1.5. And to remind you viewers, the R0 is the average number of transmissions of an infected individual. So from 1.5, nasa 1.1 na siya by nearing the late August. And sinabi namin na we see the curve flattening around early September, first week of September. And yung flattening of the curve is a term na I sort of regret using kasi it's causing a lot of confusion kasi people have different interpretations of flattening of the curve. And it seems actually all those interpretations are reasonable interpretations. So ang ginagamit namin na interpretation is, well, yung first interpretation is slowing down the pandemic. Ito yung the globally accepted interpretation. So as long as you have interventions that slow down the pandemic, you're in a sense flattening the curve from a steeper curve, nagiging mas flat yung hill mo, mas mababa yung peak niya. And the goal of this is for healthcare to catch up to the pandemic. So ginagawa naman natin talaga yan ever since April. We've been introducing interventions, mga quarantines to slow down the pandemic. Yung ginamit namin na interpretations, the second one, which is nagdi-decrease na yung reproduction number to it's less than 1, which is how we measured it, less than 1 na siya. So it's a decreasing trend. It doesn't mean na tapos na yung pandemic. Kasi yung third interpretation, which is what a lot of people think, is yung pag nag-flattening curve, yung total number of cases becomes parang a plateau, which means wala na halos new cases. And obviously, that's not the case sa NCR and Calabarzon. We're still getting more than 1,000 cases per day sa National Capital Region. So hindi siya flat in the sense na wala na tayong new cases. We're just saying the trend is decreasing. And it's important actually kasi the trend has been increasing for a long time. It's been frustrating for us kasi yung mga interventions natin don't seem to be working, or maybe some are working and some are not. Pero the transmissions have been increasing pa rin. And parang ang only solution natin is to go to a strict quarantine, which is not sustainable in the long run. Alam naman natin yan. It's a stopgap solution. Yes, it does work in reducing in transmissions, decreasing the trend, pero it's not a long-term solution. We can't have a 6-month, strict quarantine. So we have to loosen it up at some point. It's not sustainable economically, and I mean for the government, for everything. So what is working is important, and right now because of a decreasing trend in NCR, and this decreasing trend is real naman. The government sees this, the DOH sees this, the other research bodies see this, na kumukonting number of new cases. So per day, yung average number of cases per day, kumukonting. And we haven't seen that kind of decrease. And what that means is maybe something we're doing is finally right. So after months of frustration, we can't seem to be going anywhere. Parang ngayon, we're in the right direction, and I think we have to call that trend. So yun naman yung purpose namin. Hindi naman kami nag-announce na okay, everything's rosy now. Lumabas na tayo. What we're saying is finally we have a combination of interventions that is working, and we must continue doing this to further bring down the numbers to a very low number. Kung kaya natin mapababa to double-digit number of cases per day, that would be really good. So yun yung that's the point of this yung messaging natin na that the trend is decreasing. So we have to do what we're doing right now.
Okay, so para lang doon sa mga ordinaryo nating tagapakinig na hindi masyadong maalam doon sa mga terms na yon. Okay, you said that as far as flattening the curve is concerned, worldwide, sa buong mundo, pag sinabi yung flattening na curve, ibig sabihin nun, yung pandemic o itong COVID-19, hindi patuloy-tuloy yung pagtaas. Kumbaga napigilan yung kanyang pagbulwak o kanya shoot up. So yun yung flattening. But you said something that I might have misunderstood. You said that the numbers, on the other hand, are saying that in spite of what we're doing, the infections are still happening. And so some interventions are working and some are not.
Sorry, Cito. Yeah, well, hindi tayo nagkaintindi siguro. This was the case before, nung around June to July.
Okay.
So the interventions were not all working kasi the infections were still spreading. Pero ngayong August, naging less than 1 na yung reproduction number natin. So pababa ng cases. That means the interventions and health guidelines are working now.
Okay.
So ngayon they're all working now.
Do the numbers tell you where they're not working or where interventions are failing? Kasi I know you just get so much data. Kasi ako, pag mag-isip ako, I put everything on a whiteboard or on a wall. and I kind of mind map. In the work you're doing, are you able to pinpoint where failure is happening? Like in NCR, sabi nila nabotas, kapuri-puri kasi nag-improve sobra, etc. Mayroon bang can you pinpoint?
Actually, may mga LGUs na malaking in-improve aside from Navotas. I mean, right now, even Quezon City is doing good. So, yes, we can find certain LGUs, but we can't say which interventions specifically are working. Siguro, nakikita lang natin yung end result lang niya, yung itong combination is working. Obviously, it's we need some major interventions sa Bacolod because yes, kausap yung previous guest niya, yung mayor. The numbers are increasing in Bacolod, and hindi lang yung numbers, but also yung positivity rate is high in Bacolod. It's about 12%. So that's how we can spot yung mga yung mga high risk areas. Sa NCR bumaba na yung positivity rate. It's down to 12%. I mean, it seems like pareho lang yung positivity rate nila. Pero yung trend sa NCR bumaba na siya from as high as I think 19%, and now it's already touching 10% on some days. So that means we're doing enough testing sa NCR, and I mean, we could use a few more tests. I think we could scale up the testing a little further. Pero yung number of testing we're almost there. Sa Bacolod, that means we also need to increase yung testing. So may mga indicators din tayong tinitingnan like positivity rate and the hospital capacity to identify the trends. Pero yun nga, in many parts of the metro area, the interventions seem to be working. Bumababa yung trend.
Yeah, Guido, are you able to correlate particular events, dates, or situations relative to the trend? Kasi may mga nagsasabi, nag-improve tayo kasi nag-MECQ. May mga magsasabi, nag-improve kasi holiday, National Heroes Day on that day, etc. Do these holidays or MECQ or whatever reflect on your studies?
Yes, Cito. Yes, some days may mga improvement talaga, and some days wala nga testing halos because siguro holidays. So, pero yung mga single day events na yan, we take the average naman over 7 days. So, yung single day events, hindi naman nagmamatter masyado. The question I'd like to address, yung sa sinabi mo, yung sa MECQ. Yes, it's true. Kami mismo, sinabi namin, there is a lag effect ng quarantine. That's why immediately after MECQ, hindi naman natin nakita yung nag-decrease yung trend. In fact, medyo pataas pa na konti. But after 2 weeks, we finally saw the decrease in trend as a result of the MECQ. Now, some people might say, well, okay, MECQ, bumalik na tayo sa GCQ sa Metro Manila, so tataas na siya, may lagling effect. But some of the data we're seeing is more real-time, tulad ng mga test results. Yung delay dun is only about 7 days. So, kailan ba tayo nag-GCQ? August 18, it's about 3 weeks now. So, kung may effects man yung return to GCQ, I think we should have seen it by now, maybe last week or 2 weeks ago. Pero what we're seeing is the trend is continuing to decrease. Yung number of new cases is continuing to decrease. Yung reproduction number is continuing to go down. Right now, I think it's about 0.89. Nung last time nag-announce kami earlier this week, it was average was about 0.94. So the fact that it's still going down and not going up or stabilizing is an indication na it's headed in the right direction. And I think we have to acknowledge that trend. I mean, of course, hindi naman irreversible itong trends na to. If interventions change or bigla maging pasaway yung mga tao, we stop following the protocols or something that we cannot explain, pwede pa rin mag-increasing numbers. And that's why we have to be careful. And that's why we have to strictly follow itong interventions that are working para mapababa pa natin. And then we could be like Cebu. Cebu was the talk of the town, back in June. They were getting mga 300 cases per day.
Yeah.
But ngayon, they're no longer, nag-ECQ sila, nag-MECQ, but they're no longer in the MECQ. And the trend is still decreasing. They're now getting, I think, 70 cases per day from 300, and it's still going down. In fact, yung positivity rate nila nasa 5% na yun. They probably don't need additional tests anymore sa Cebu. Their numbers are really good. So we have to focus now. I mean, yung NCR, the numbers are still significant. So we have to focus on managing the numbers by reducing the trend even further. So NCR and Calabarzon, and then also syempre yung mga hotspots like Bacolod, we have to look at this and monitor it talaga.
So when you were saying earlier, when you do the studies every day and you look at the data every day, yung mga sinasabi nyo, hindi lang ito always sum total. Kasi ikaw yung mathematician, hindi ako eh. Hindi ito puro sum total. Pag tinitingnan mo rin yung reports from particular localities or from particular laboratories, you somehow have an idea or a feel if there has been a surge or if there has been a flattening or in specific location. So hindi puro ito hihintayin lahat yung kabuuan ng resulta bago mo masabi. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct, Cito. In fact, I look at the data almost every day. I mean, and tinitingnan ko siya medyo manually pa nga eh. So I think I have a feel for the data now. Although ngayon, syempre, nakahila na tingnan. Sobrang dami na. We have 200 plus thousand total cases. Pero once you disaggregate it naman to certain regions, by region, medyo mas madaling tingnan. And yes, that's how we spot trends. We look at yung, hindi lang yung sum total. We look at yung trends, what is going up, what is going down. And then we do averages para hindi naman single day lang tinitingnan natin. Kasi pwedeng one day, yung positivity rate biglang bumaba ng sobrang baba. Pero yung average niya, like sa NCR right now, the average is still about 12%. Pero on some days, minsan umaabot na siya ng 10%. So, yes, yun yung...
Okay. Alam mo, nagtatalo kami ng executive producer ko eh. Kasi for the last 3 days, hooray siya ng hooray. Sabi niya, 3,000 na lang, sir. 3,000 na lang. 3 days, 3,000. And then today, biglang sabi ko, ano ka mo? 3,000 na lang. Ayan, 3,821 bigla. Is there anything significant about that? 3,000 for 3 days and suddenly it's 3,821. Kasi when I listen to Usec Vergere, medyo cool lang yung ale, pero palagay ko mainit na ulo nun kasi may mga laboratories daw. I think 22 laboratories who were delayed in their reporting. Ito bang mga discrepancy or rise, let's call it a sudden rise, is it also because some 22 laboratories did not send the reports on time?
Yes, actually, Cito, that's also a factor. And alam rin namin kung ano yung mga laboratories na yan because we look at the trends in the testing. And then, okay lang sana kung yung mga nade-delay, yung mga smaller laboratories na may mga 10 tests or 50 tests, and then hindi malaking impact nun. Pero yung mga delays minsan, or most of the time, doon sa mga bigger laboratories, which do thousands of tests per day. And malaking factor yan sa real-time tracking ng data. And of course, hindi ko rin naman masisisi yung laboratory. I mean, it's frustrating because maybe they're overworked already. They're working with thousands of tests per day. I feel for the yung people na gumagawa ng mga tests, nagpo-process ng test results. So that is part of the of the challenge. We can sort of fill in the gaps naman pag may mga late na laboratories. We look at what approximately what number we're expecting dito sa laboratories nito.
Kumbaga averaging.
Yes. And then but yes, factor is a real-time tracking. Pero ang nakikita naman natin, for the days, I mean, kasi kunyari, yung delay nila mga 3 days. If we look at the past week naman, once andun na yung data nila, we're still seeing the trend na it's continuing to go down. And yes, ngayon, medyo siguro frustrating na naka 3,800 cases tayo. May konting up and down naman yung reporting ng cases per day because, I mean, may day naman tayo na naka 1,000, ano na rin tayo. So when we average it out, the trend is still going down. I mean, remember a few weeks ago, we were getting mga 6,000 cases in one day, and that was really scary. And fortunately, we're right now past that. So hopefully, hindi na tumaas doon sa mga ganong scary numbers. I mean, those are scary numbers, mga 4,000, 4 to 6,000 cases per day. So right now, basta mapababa natin, even if it's going down slowly, that would be a big
Okay.
achievement.
Well, Guido, I just want to say to you, to Ranjit Rai, and to all your colleagues there, please don't stop doing what you're doing. Do not lose the joy in what you're doing, because what you're doing is not just giving us numbers. You are giving us information that helps us make wise decisions in our daily lives. And more importantly, now that the trend is going down, you are confirming that our national cooperation, public cooperation, is coming out with good results. And we thank you for your work. We appreciate your work. Do not lose the joy of your work. Thank you, Professor Guido David.
Thank you, Cito. Thank you for the kind words. Yes, this is for information. Very glad na nakikita mo yung what we're doing for the country. Of course, I don't feel na may joy pa rin dito sa totoo lang after doing this for months. But it's okay. This is a sense of duty for us, and that's why we won't stop doing this until the pandemic is over.
Okay, thank you very much, Guido. Okay, that's Professor Guido David of the UP OCTA Research Team. Yon, sabi po niya, gumaganda na ang takbo, bumababa na ang mga bilang, mataas pa rin in relative terms. Gusto nga natin zero, pero kung 3,000, better 3,000 than 6,000. So, ayun po, no? And yung huling sinabi ko kay Guido, that would also be my message for all of you as we come into the weekend. It's a Friday. Please do not lose the joy in your work, in your vocation, in your occupation, in your responsibility. Speak life to it. By the grace of God, things will always work out for all of us, because that's what the Bible says. He always turns into good everything for those who love him. Okay, so have a great weekend. I'm Cito Beltran, and that's Agenda Today.